Have you ever been speaking to someone in English and you can't understand what they're saying? Of course, this is something that happens to all of us, native speakers included. In this video, I'm going to show you a simple technique called rephrasing that you can use to instantly help you solve this problem, avoid embarrassing miscommunications, and communicate more fluently. But before I show you how to use rephrasing, I'd like to quickly speak about the common phrases that most people learn to use when they don't understand. For example, can you repeat that? Could you say that again? Or, excuse me. A lot of people will also add a little sorry to the beginning of these phrases to make them more polite. But there is a much faster way to signal that you don't understand. You can simply say, sorry, or pardon. You don't always need to use a lot of words to sound polite. A lot of that friendliness and respect comes from your body language and intonation. And please note that with any of these phrases, intonation is important. In general, in English, a rising tone at the end of a phrase indicates a question. So, sorry can transmit a very different meaning than sorry. I should quickly mention that you might hear a lot of people using other options like what or huh? But in many cultures, these are considered impolite or very informal, so you need to be careful about when you use them. Now, one problem with using these phrases to signal that you don't understand is that the other person will often just repeat exactly what they said, word for word. Now, sometimes that's good because you can focus your attention and it gives you a second opportunity to try to decode the meaning. But if you simply don't know the vocabulary or grammar they're using, you will still be lost after that repetition. So one solution is to ask for a more specific type of repetition to try to avoid this problem. For example, sorry, I didn't understand. Could you say that in another way? Or, sorry, I don't know that expression. What does it mean? And hopefully the other person will produce something that you can understand. Now, using these types of common phrases can work, but now let me show you something that is even more effective: rephrasing. So, what is rephrasing and why does it work so well? Rephrasing is when you repeat to the other speaker what you think you understood, and then you check for confirmation. Let me give you an example. Imagine somebody says to you, "We're gonna swing by the hotel and grab you at about 7. You might understand some of the words, but not all of them. Instead of just asking the speaker to repeat themselves, you repeat what you think is the correct meaning, and then confirm if it's correct. So, you will get me at the hotel at 7 p.m.? The other speaker will probably confirm with a short reply, like, yes, exactly, and continue speaking. By using this technique, you didn't interrupt the flow of conversation with something like, "Can you repeat that?" Now let's imagine the person says, "We'll get you at the hotel at 7:15. Now, you don't know the meaning of 1:45, so if you say, "So you will get me at the hotel at 7 p.m.?" the other person will correct you with something like this: "No, not at 7 p.m., at 7:15. So your guess was wrong, but you gave them a chance to correct you. which they did. Then they also repeated the correct time. If you're still unsure, you could continue with one final rephrasing. Ah, at 6:45. Okay. And then they might confirm with a short, right. Now, I know you can't do this with every sentence in a conversation, but it's a highly effective and efficient strategy to avoid miscommunications. But it's an important strategy for another reason. The truth is that if we ask someone to directly repeat something and we don't understand it the second time, we feel embarrassed. It's really uncomfortable to ask someone to repeat something for a third time. So usually the only option is to pretend that we understand. And that's something that we should avoid, because that's when miscommunications happen. And those miscommunications can be even more embarrassing and costly. And rephrasing can help you to avoid that. Let's look at an example from the business world. Imagine a colleague in the UK says, I want to circle back and inquire if you can feed us stats every Monday. Again, maybe you understand some of the words, but not all of them. Let's take what you understand and combine it with the context of the situation and rephrase. Just to check, you want me to give you information on Mondays? Good job. They will probably confirm that is correct. But let's imagine you didn't understand correctly and you say, just to check, you want me to delete information every Monday? They might say, no, not delete it, send it to us. Now you have clarified a very important detail and avoided a potentially disastrous miscommunication. When you use rephrasing, you give other people the chance to correct and guide you, usually without interrupting the flow of the conversation. But rephrasing is not just useful for formal or business situations. You can use it in everyday life too. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hello?
Hi, it's me.
Hey.
Listen, can you pick me up from work today?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you pick me up from work? Can you hear me?
Okay, that's a little bit unusual, but, sure. Okay.
Okay then,
Okay, bye. Sorry, I have to go. I'll be back. Okay. Oh, hey.
Where were you? You were supposed to pick me up from work.
Oh, I picked you up a walk?
A walk?
Well, as you can see, as a general communication skill, rephrasing is extremely powerful and can save you both time, money, and embarrassment. So don't be afraid of using it as often as you need to. As always, we should take a moment to talk about mindset. When we need to ask someone to repeat something, it means that we are having communication problems, and we should be kind to ourselves and the other person if we want to fix those problems. So be careful of saying things like, "Sorry, I don't understand your accent." If your speaking partner is a foreign learner, then they are probably embarrassed about their accent, even if they shouldn't be. So specifically mentioning accent can hit the other person like a punch in the stomach. And even if your speaking partner is a native speaker, accent isn't something that people choose. It's part of their identity. And highlighting that you can't understand it might be taken as a personal insult. In fact, you should probably avoid the concept of "you're" completely. Let's take a moment to talk about the philosophy of communication. All communication is a type of social contract. So anyone who enters into communication needs to share the responsibility for the success of that communication. As a learner of English, you might have complicated feelings about this. Sometimes you might feel like all communication problems are your fault because your level of English simply isn't good enough. You don't have the grammar, the vocabulary, or the practice. But other times you might feel like it's everyone else's fault, that people speak too fast and use too many unfamiliar words and phrases, and they don't seem to make any effort to help you. The reality is that all of these things are true. It's true that many people, especially monolingual English speakers, are just bad communicators who don't take their share of the responsibility for successful communication and aren't interested in making the effort to understand or be understood. And it's also true that you can always improve your language skills. The thing to remember is that you cannot give up. Humans invented language for a reason. We all have a deep desire to communicate. You might feel like your vocabulary or grammar or pronunciation isn't good enough, but I promise you that outside the classroom in the real world, nobody cares about those things. They only care about sharing thoughts, experiences, and stories with you. I know how horrible it can feel when we have communication failures, and rephrasing is a tool that can help you to avoid them. But when failures do happen, the worst thing you can do is stop communicating, because that means you're not taking responsibility and you're closing the door to so many opportunities because of fear. Fear is a strong emotion, and you will feel it pushing you to not answer that phone call, to not ask a question when you're on a guided tour, to not share your opinion in a meeting. Language is much more than just a technical skill. When you learn another language, you become part of that language community and everything that comes with it. The books, the films, the music, the stories, the knowledge, and most importantly, the people. And that's what I want for you. I'm Christian. This is Kangaroo English, and I'll see you in class.